It's LBI Region Report time, and Lori, very exciting time of the year. You know, for those who know me and have heard me on other shows here on WBNJ, when I talk about the warm weather, usually the warm weather for me involves one of two things. One, I get injured, or two, I spend some time working outdoors, and that usually involves something with four wheels.
Okay.
And I don't want to give away too much, but usually I end up either getting my hands dirty or getting myself hurt. One of the two. But usually it involves an automotive, apparatus.
Well, now's the time we see all the traffic coming down. I mean, this is it. May is definitely our time to shine. And, we just wrapped up Tourism Week.
Right?
And, I was very fortunate to be honored in Trenton with the Senator Whalen Award and, talking about all the great things that Southern Ocean Chamber and the Long Beach Island region has been doing on behalf of the state to bring people down, to keep small business growing, and to keep people exploring. We have such a beautiful area. I mean, you can't ever get tired of, exploring down some of these beautiful, bayfront towns, beachfront towns, in the Pinelands. But, in order to do that, as you said, you do need at least four wheels.
For maybe two.
Maybe
Yeah.
two.
No
But four,
unicycles, so
yeah.
yes.
But
And
something.
occasionally something that floats.
And occasionally something that floats. Yes, hopefully not all at once. But so today joining us, we have Tom Petty from Petty Motor Works right in Waretown, an expert mechanic and automotive shop that probably has seen plenty of his fair share of lost or motorists in need, but here to really talk all about what has inspired him, what's kept him going for 10 years of ownership, which we're so proud of you, Tom, and your team, because, small business is not an easy feat. And to do it and to do it with a smile on your face and pride, I mean, that just, just makes us all want to celebrate. So congratulations on that.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having me on today. What an awesome opportunity to talk to you guys.
So we had mentioned that you had started 10 years ago. Tell us what Waretown and Southern Ocean County had as far as the local automotive scene, and what was it that inspired you to open Petty Motor Works?
Well, what really inspired Petty Motor Works was my son, Tommy. I've always wanted to be in my own business. I came from a small shop just like ours. But when you get later on in your life, it's really hard to do that. I was 52 when we opened our business. And he came to me and said he wanted to do it, following his dad's footsteps. He'd always worked with me out of my garage. Being a local technical instructor, I helped local shops put out their fires, so to speak. While I worked during the day at the Causeway Port. I worked there for
Right.
26 years.
Wow.
And that was my specialty, diagnostics and electrical issues and things like that. So when he came to me and said, "Dad, I want to do what you want to do," I said, "Okay, well then we need to do it as a family business." Right. And I knew if I had a reliable partner like my son, we could do it.
Love it.
And so that was what the start of Petty Motor Works was. If I waited just a few years longer, I probably would have put me in a grave because it was no easy task working a full-time job and starting a business and getting it off the ground in a reasonable amount of time. And like you said earlier, let's face it, I think it was 60 to 70% of all small businesses fail in the first 10 years.
It takes a lot to hit that 10-year mark. I
No,
mean,
and
we track and when it comes time to renewing those leases and you see it, after 5 years, it's definitely it's a change. 10 years is definitely a success.
yeah.
So congratulations and many more to you
Thank you very much. I'm looking so my strategy is to eventually, create a succession plan to where I can then take a, step backwards.
well, that's important. And that's what we talk about with small businesses too, is that you do need that. What's that succession
Yep.
to hand it down as a generational? So can you share a story? I know you have probably many memorable customers and challenging repairs. As I say, especially because you have people coming from all over. In the summer, they're coming
Yes.
from hundreds of miles away.
Yep.
So what stories can you share with us? Maybe one of the top from the 10 years.
So when it really, and when I was, talking to my wife about these questions and Tom, I'm like, there are so many really memorable stories, right? And two came to mind, one of which is very specific, right? And, one is, more generalized, right? But so a local customer, right? Her name is Jean Bennell. I'm sure she's not afraid to hear me say it. I think Jean's in her early 90s right now, very spry as well. And she came to our shop and had a Lincoln Town Car towed in, right? And she bought this car because she saw it sitting on the side of the road and it reminded her of her deceased husband. He always had town cars. As a matter of fact, she still drives a Lincoln today, which is hysterical. So that we weren't in business maybe 3 weeks, right? So the car gets towed in. We diagnosed it as a bad fuel pump, not uncommon back then, right? And I said to her, Gene, well, since this car's new to you, before we do any repairs, because a fuel pump's not a cheap repair, right? Fuel tank has to come out in order to replace it, things like that. Let's, push it in the shop and make sure the car's okay. And we pushed it in the shop and realized that the frame was almost rusted into two pieces. Right. So I didn't know Jean other than she's the little old lady that just had her Lincoln Town Car towed in, right? At that point in time, I knew very few people in town, right? So, shortly thereafter, a gentleman shows up at the shop and he says, "Oh yeah, Gene called me to take a look at this." He was a local shipbuilder, a boat builder, and welder, right? And and I jack it up for him. I didn't know anything beyond he was a boat builder and welder, right? Right. And we jacked it up and he agreed, yeah, this is not repairable. We can't fix it. We'd have to take the body off the car to fix the frame. Right. So the car was totaled. Right. It was not worth fixing. It was not safe to even be on the road. If a pothole probably would have caused the frame to kink, Right. That's when I found out that local, boat builder and welder was also the mayor. Right.
There you
So
go.
here's the town elder. I didn't know who the mayor was. I was only in business 3 weeks. Right. Here's the town elder calling the mayor to ask to check up on the new guy in town. Right. And because of my policy, which I've always had this policy, you have to make sure you fix the whole of the car, not just what it came in for. I avoided her spending a lot of money on something that wasn't worth fixing.
Right.
Or could have been worse than that, could have been a safety issue. So that's probably, I thought about this quite a while.
That's a good small town story.
It is a great small town story. And oddly enough, Dan was in today. That was the ex-mayor, right? And Jean, I ran into her at the 150 celebration of Waretown Historical Society when they did the kickoff, because she's one of the town founding families. She's been around forever.
That's wonderful. And you said she's still driving a Lincoln.
Yeah, and she still brings us brownies on a regular basis.
Oh, that's nice. Well, that's it. A customer that feeds you is the best one, right?
Right. Yep.
So
go ahead.
So you said you had another story that you were thinking about?
So the other stories, like memorable stories, and this is more like an example of a repeat thing, right? And that's we're very known, and I ran into the Clantons because I ran into Bill over an issue, right? Bill's dad was a mechanic for decades. We share some history in the radio business because you guys bought the license from my old high school radio station where I was the general manager.
No kidding.
Yep.
All the way back.
So long story short, diagnosis on today's cars. I've been a technical training instructor forever, right? Diagnosis on today's cars is no easy task, right? All too many shops are struggling with skills necessary to be able to fix today's cars. And people think if they go to their local shop or local parts store and they give you a fault code, that's a diagnosis, and it just isn't, right? Perfect example was this, Ford Transit Connect that came in, one of those little vans, used for commercial stuff. And it had probably $3,000 worth of parts thrown at this car, right? For a chafed wire, a wire that rubbed through on a sharp piece of metal, right? We had about an hour's worth of diagnosis in it, but the due diligence that is no different than how we inspected Gene's car is what led us in the path of the correct repair. You don't throw components at cars, you diagnose concerns. So this poor customer spent about $3,500 and walked out of our shop for about a 15-minute repair plus our diagnosis for less than $200.
So it's about knowing your industry, knowing what it takes to keep cars on the road, right?
Highly technical.
Highly technical. So, I mean, Billy and I talk about this all the time, how much technology has changed. And I mean, over the last decade, automotive, I'm sure, I remember the cars my first car was a 78 Sunbird. Okay, that was my first car. Please. So there wasn't much, there wasn't much bells and whistles in that. You could probably diagnose that thing, just by turning it on, right, back then. So what has changed? What do you see that your shop can do to stay ahead of the curve? Because now everything lights up in a car. Everything works
So
until it doesn't. So tell me, how do you manage that?
there's significant changes that occur. For example, you can look back and, oh, wow, cars have airbags now to keep people safe if they get into an accident, and anti-lock brakes. Those are all significant technology changes. Today's advanced driver assist systems like collision avoidance and lane departure. All of those things didn't just happen overnight. They were an evolution,
Mm.
right? The best I can say. When I started in an industry different than most mechanics or technicians, I was going to school for electrical engineering. All right. I loved working with my hands. 2 years into electrical engineering, I'm like, I like working with my hands more than I want to be an engineer. Right. But I was extremely good at electrical. And just like Bill and his dad, I tinkered with electronics in high school and elementary school. I had Heath kits and soldered
Yeah,
things
there's a love
together.
for
And
that.
yeah,
There's a
yeah,
love
it's a
for
love
that.
for it. Right.
Hmm.
I was into electrical, electronics, and technology. And that was around early 1980s. Well, about that same time, the first modules were being put into cars electronics wise. And mechanics at the time, they were true mechanics before they were technicians. And understanding the invisible is not easy, right?
Mm.
Electricity is invisible, right? And a lot of technicians at that time, mechanics, had a hard time with basic electrical diagnosis. And that was just the tip of the iceberg. I worked at a small shop, no different than ours today, a little three-bay shop in Spring Lake. I had a great mentor, right? And his father too, right? And they taught me the stuff that I didn't know about electronics. And then I taught them the stuff that they didn't know about electronics. Or that I didn't know about cars. So they taught me the mechanical, I taught them the high tech, right?
Right.
I was 24 years old, and I was deep into electrical diagnosis. 5 or 6 years later, I think it was 7 years later, I worked for him 7 years. I got the job at Causeway Forest. All right. And I worked there as a diagnostic guy and general technician. And I was there 26 years. And I always like to refer to myself as the guy that puts out the fires.
That's
I was
it.
a fireman. Yep. And over that time, we've watched this evolution of automotive from the inclusion of safety related and convenience related items and networked modules. The first car I worked on had a computer, one,
Yeah.
with a
I
baud
believe
rate
it.
of 186. All right. Now it's not uncommon when I do a network system test and I go into a computer system, there are 30 different modules in a car and
Wow.
they all communicate across a control area network. In other words, like an Ethernet connection throughout the car. It's extremely complicated and it requires, an extremely different mindset today.
Yeah.
Today's technicians, they don't just change oil. They don't just mount tires. I mean, there will always be a place for people to do those things, but to have a high quality general repair facility, you better have a high quality person
Yeah.
and then being properly changed. I mean, I just came back from Hershey, Pennsylvania with my whole staff. We were out there at Mid-Atlantic Auto Care Alliance. That's like a nonprofit group that supports our industry. They had between 600 and 800 people out at Hershey, PA for a technical conference, the biggest one on the East Coast this time of year.
So was it like a trade show?
It was a trade show with vendors there,
Hmm.
but it also, it was 4 days. We were there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. I did uh, 5 different classes,
Nice.
right? And all my staff did different classes based on what they felt it was best for them, and I would guide them as well. Technical classes. I did some business management classes as well. Things like that. You have to do training. My staff alone does between 75 and 100 hours of training per technician a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and
like you
if,
said, to stay ahead of the curve,
that's
that's
right.
what you need to do. But
If you're not learning, you're dying.
that's it. That's true. So, I mean, when we talk about Petty Motor Works, it's a little beyond fixing cars. You had mentioned that you went to, the 150th anniversary and that you go to these different events. You're representing, of course, your family, but also your business. So, why is the community so important? How do you feel your business and your community intertwine?
That's a great question. When my son came to me, I said to him, the shop that I came from in Spring Lake, it was right on Route 71 in Spring Lake, small little mom and pop shop, all right, and the owner treated the community with a tremendous amount of respect.
Hmm.
He was always fair. He wasn't always the cheapest, but he was always fair and honest, right? Honesty is the most important thing because somebody can tell you anything. You don't know if it's right or not. I mean, especially if it's super technical. You can only Google so much to find out the answers. So I said to him, if we do things right and we treat every one of our customers like their family, right, and we charge fairly and stand behind everything we do, we'll never have a loss of customers. And that includes taking care of the community that's around you. If I'm making a living off of the people that support me, right, come to my shop,
Yep.
why wouldn't I, be the sponsor at the marching band at Southern Regional High School?
That's right.
Or like we do scholarships. We do scholarships for youth entering the automotive field. We marching band, Southern Regional High School jazz band, the Little League. That's where all my marketing money goes. It goes back into the community, sponsoring our 150th in town.
That's great.
Because word of mouth and community is really everything.
So, what are you most proud of when you look back at this first decade?
Well, one, that we made it. That's something to be said because when you have a 60 or 70% failure rate, and you're on the other side of that failure rate, that's something to be proud of. But more importantly, I'm really proud of how far my son has come. Right? He has come from a young technician to a very good diagnostic technician and general technician. Our shop has grown from me, my son, a service advisor, and my buddy Ed, right? To we have 4 technicians, 2 service advisors, a part-time bookkeeper, and a porter.
Okay. So
we've
you
got a lot
definitely
right.
busting at the seams over there.
Yeah, we've done a great job. We've made a moderate amount of money. I'd love to say we were rolling in it, but we're not, right? But we've made enough money to continue the growth of our business at a reasonable rate. Technology-wise, equipment-wise, things like that.
So that, I guess, brings us to the next question of where do you see the next 10 years being?
Well, I'm 62 in June, right?
You're just a kid.
I told my son 67 full Social Security retirement, and I'm going to come in 3 days a week and tell you how you're doing everything wrong.
There you go. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that might be your goal, but what's your company's goal?
My company's goal is to lead them in a way where they can all be independent in their functions. Right. Everybody can have a strong company that they know is going to be here tomorrow, that offers them a good benefit package and wage, and they feel good about their job on a daily basis.
That is the cornerstone to a lot of happiness right there.
Yeah.
I
tell my guys, if they ever leave work feeling like they did something wrong, I need you to tell me right away because that should never happen.
That's perfect. I certainly think that, you know what, especially as you're mentoring, that is like you, as you said, you were mentored back in Spring Lake, right? Yep. I'm sure, that's something that you would have somebody that might be down the road, their own shop owner, talking about you that way, right? Yes. That there was somebody that took that time. So that's really wonderful. But we could all celebrate with the Petties and the Motorworks family May 16th because they are going to be having a special celebration that's going to be open to the public. So let's make sure everybody knows where you are. You are at 462 Route 9 in Waretown. Yep. So I'm sure you've passed it a million times. It's right there. I pass you all the time, always waving to you.
On the corner of Wells Mills Road.
Yep, on the corner of Wells Mills. So what can people expect on May 16th, the time and what you're planning on having?
Officially, it runs from 11 to 3 p.m. All right. We have a couple local car clubs, Sentimental Cruisers and Jersey Shore Car Club. We're going to be bringing cars in. It's not an official car show, but we're going to have... Listen, a lot of those guys are friends, so there's no event going on that day. It's a rain date for another event, and I'm crossing my fingers that it doesn't rain on the 16th for us. But we're going to have car shows, car from local car clubs come in. I have another friend of mine's band called Broken Bones doing some classic rock.
Wow, that sounds good.
So we got 5 band member. We have a local face painter coming in and do face painting for the kids. My family and I are going to be making hamburgers and hot dogs.
Nice.
I got a block party permit to close down the street between my shop and the neighboring piece of property, which I also acquired this past year. So we'll have plenty of overflow parking. All right. So just going to be a fun day. Lots of giveaways. I'm going to have some raffle stuff for the car club guys and for the public. So I'm really excited and all nervous at the same time. I'm kind of nervous because if a lot of cars show up, I'm not sure we're going to check them all.
Well, I'm sure you'll know where to put them.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm if it's a car, I think you find a way to handle it, no matter what the situation is, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yep.
again, congratulations. Southern Ocean County Chamber is so proud to have you as a member and help you represent your community. And 10 years is just again to many, many more to you and your team.
Well, thank you, Lord. And Bill, as usual, it's always a pleasure.
Yes. Great to
All right.
see you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Very good. So mark your calendars. May 16th, join Petty Motor Works down on Route 9 and Wells Mills Road for a special party, 10-year anniversary celebration for a local family business. So if you haven't been a customer there, maybe it's time to go down and introduce yourself. And if you ever do need somebody to take a look at your vehicle, you might think of them in the future. But definitely come out and celebrate and be part of the car show and the fun that's going to happen. So all good stuff.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
May is a very big deal. I mean, obviously, Memorial Day weekend is the unofficial start of summer, and everything just goes flying, right? Once it's like sort of, at the gates, and everything just goes flying. So we do want to mention there's quite a few things happening in June, including the coolest film festival coming back to Long Beach Island. Which is really exciting, June 10th to the 14th. The Southern Ocean Chamber, this is our 18th year of sponsorship for the Lighthouse International Film Festival. It's just been a joy to watch it grow and succeed and named the coolest film festival by Movie Maker magazine. It brings 5 days of screenings and panels and workshops and networking and beach parties to the Jersey Shore. The festival features a diverse lineup of feature films, shorts, documentaries, comedies, dramas, horrors, surf films, arriving fresh from unbelievable festivals like Tribeca and Cannes and Sundance and South by Southwest. So this year, there is special guests. There's Tony Shalhoub that is going to be making his appearance there with Jason Alexanders. They're going to have an exclusive conversation and masterclass for filmmakers and fans. So if anybody is interested, passes are on sale. You can buy tickets for each screening, but if you want to get the most bang for your buck, including getting into some of these pre-parties and talkbacks, then the all access pass would be what you need. And you can get that right at Lighthouse Film Festival's website, lighthousefilmfestival.org. You can go to visitlbiregion.com, and that's where you can find all of our members, including Petty Motor Works, Lighthouse International Film Festival, and all the other great local businesses that are getting ready for the summer and really making sure that summer 2026, which we think is going to be pretty spectacular in its own right, makes even more memorable by all the different things that they're bringing to the table. So go to visitlbiregion.com. Check out our social, which is Southern Ocean Chamber and LBI Region, because there's always announcements and things that are coming up. And one of the other things I wanted to mention that is coming up is a local charity, the Reynolds Family Foundation. They're doing an evening at the races, and that is Wednesday, June 3rd at the Farm on Main in West Creek. And that is going to be an unforgettable evening inspired by the tradition and excitement of the Triple Crown. So if you want to just get some exceptional cocktails and lively music and get some delicious food from local restaurants, as well as supporting all the wonderful things that the Reynolds Family Foundations do, which contributes to the hunger food banks and all the different important ways that they give back to the local schools and to different charities. You can come out and support them. So definitely do that. And definitely stay connected with us.
Yes, and make sure you connect with us. You can find us as a podcast wherever podcasts are found, and find us on YouTube if you want to see our pretty faces.